Howdy folks, good afternoon. Still over at the Oscar Scherer State Park. Been here for quite a while actually. But right now I'm actually on something called the Lester Finley Trail. This is a bit of an easier trail. It's mostly for the purpose of interpretation, as there are indeed interpretive signs along the way. But this is the South Creek. This is brackish water, which actually runs through this little patch of land right here. So some of you may be wondering, what exactly is the history that lies behind the Oscar Scherer State Park? Well, this place actually became designated as a state park back in 1956. So that's actually the same year my grandma Luann was born. However, though, it was only 456 acres at the time. But then as it got into the 1960s and 1970s, when development was becoming more rapid, the state parks system bought more land. And so now the state park actually encompasses up to 1,400 acres. But basically the land once belonged to, I believe her name was Elsa Scherer Burrows, something of the sort. I'm not good with names, to be honest with you. But point being said, where we're at, part of this land was once owned by the Scherer family. And they wanted to have a way to give back to Florida's natural world. And thus, it became known as the Oscar Scherer State Park. I believe Oscar was one of those family members, as a matter of fact. But it's crazy to think, like, this was what was so neat to me. When I was briefly in the nature center, actually talking to a volunteer, Dan, he seemed like a nice fellow. They had like a poster, or a couple of posters, that actually represented the separate decades, ranging from the 60s to now present day. And it's remarkable how much development has happened within a matter of 50 to 60 years. It's insane. And that's just only one little portion of Florida's land. That's not even all the other parts of the state. So I think that's why this state park is so special. Just because you have to think, all of Florida used to look like this, or at least majority. Like where we're at right now is it is a hardwood hammock setting, as a matter of fact. So a hardwood hammock develops once oak trees become present. So it's actually around us right now are a lot of Sans live oaks, as a matter of fact. This is what surrounds us. And you can see that they form these really dense canopies, providing plenty of shade. And of course, I'm about to approach it. Give me just a second. We've got the Spanish moss, which is not really a true moss. Rather, it is indeed an epiphyte, aka an air plant. Now, I did a video on the Spanish moss not too long ago, about 2 weeks ago, when I was visiting the Mayaca River State Park. And one aspect I forgot to mention is whenever you're touching Spanish moss, you have to be careful. Point as to the reason why is on Spanish moss, there's a well-known biological homie that they call chiggers. And these chiggers are oftentimes red in color. And they're not the same thing as fleas, but the way they behave is very similar. Or they kind of act like a tick, actually. That's a better comparison. But these chiggers, what they do is they behave the same way as a tick does. They'll actually burrow themselves into your skin. But chiggers are even smaller than ticks. See, the fortunate thing is, Florida, depending on the part of the state, of course, doesn't have a huge tick problem. I think some of the worst tick experiences I've had was when I was in Arkansas, out camping, actually. That was probably one of the worst tick experiences I've had. They were practically around every single corner that we were at, so we had to keep everything secured. But no, this is a nice trail. And yeah, this actually talks a bit about the wild coffee right here. Yep. Thing is, wild coffee is actually not a true coffee, as it does not have caffeine. However, though, I still believe that you should avoid consuming these, while they're in fruit like this. Just because I believe there are indeed symptoms of having diarrhea and discomfort in your digestive system. But yeah. No, it's just, this is a nice trail. You can only imagine, like, back during settling times, like they had to traverse through all of this. Yeah, Hardwood Forest. So yeah, that's actually making a point. The Hardwood Forest. So, as I've mentioned before, Florida has varying habitats depending on their elevation. So, a hardwood forest is also a bit more developed too, because it's a lot cooler and there's a lot more water. And that's why we're seeing more of those oaks and other various canopy plants as well. Or should I say, like the second story plants, the understory. But with that being said, that's why we won't really see as many of the pines like we normally do. Just because though the slash pines are a lot more drought tolerant. So that's just something to remember. Yep. Looks like we got some coreopsis. This is like a great area for pollinators too, especially in the form of butterflies. Yep. Even got some Ramarillo. I've actually made an older video on that. But yeah, the Lester Finley Trail. This is a nice one. It's probably only a half mile one way, and it's just out and back, so it's pretty straightforward. So alright, you guys, hope you enjoyed this video. I know I didn't have as much to share. I just wanted to really provide some of the background of the state park and what can be seen here. So it didn't really focus upon anything in particular. I was keeping it pretty broad, as it were. So alright, you guys, have a great Sunday. And once again, Journey on a Journey is outwards. Take care, folks. See ya. Take care, you guys.